Hi, all, and welcome. Thank you for joining me for today's session on Beyond the Book Lessons That Engage. Although this is geared towards early years practitioners, I invite anyone who loves to share literature with their students to dive in and join me. My name is Adrienne Waller, and you can find me at worldwideeducator.org. My email is also below, so feel free to contact me at any time you have any questions or want to share great learning that's happening in your classroom. Again, just email me any questions or concerns or follow ups that you have about anything that you see during the presentation. So today I just did my welcome. Hi, I'm glad you're here. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about an icebreaker I use with my teachers, describe the book that I use for this training, Giraffes Can't Dance, go through some of the stations that relate to the book, whole class activities you can do with this book, and discuss how these then relate to the 7 learning areas, and then give you a turn to do some of this thinking on your own and share it with me later. So the icebreaker that I used for this presentation was on birth order, where the participants divide into 4 corners based off of when they were born. And they get to talk in their group about what it's like to be the oldest or the only child, the youngest, or in the middle. And then I let each group kind of do a share out. It was really interesting to see how people connected with people they normally don't connect with, the differences and similarities. I think they started to understand each other in a way that they naturally didn't before. But there are people who are like me from blended families and kind of struggle to figure out what's the best place for them. Sometimes I'm the oldest, sometimes the middle. I just picked which I thought most impacted who I was today. So I went with the oldest. Let's get reading. Well, we won't actually read the book, but I will kind of give you a quick synopsis so you understand the premise of the book. So the book is called Giraffes Can't Dance, and the YouTube below that you see right there is a song that someone did on YouTube related to the book. It's quite fabulous. I love it. I think it's a great way to introduce a book. I'm not a singer, but please visit that and hear the song. But essentially, all the animals every year have this annual jungle dance. Giraffes, Gerald is a giraffe, and all the animals are like, giraffes can't dance, so he's really sad. He goes moping. The crickets come to him and they say, oh, when you're different, you just need a different song. So then Gerald starts listening to the different music in the jungle and then starts to dance. All the animals see him dancing. They love his dance. They say, how can you do that? What are you doing? He basically ends by saying, you just need to find the music you love. So that's the general premise of the book. It's great for differentiation discussions, empathy, beginning of the year. So many ways to use this book. I just absolutely love it. Okay, so we're going to move on to the stations that I did that are related or inspired by the book Giraffes Can't Dance. So station 1 is sequencing and fine motor skills. So it's kind of a combination of 2 different things. So you'll see there are 4 different plates, and on each plate there's a picture from a scene or image from the story. And the students are to put them in order, which you see my teachers doing, putting the story in order, and then using the rope to actually go through the holes that have been punctured into each plate to actually thread the story together. Great for fine motor skills, a great way to go over sequencing. Kids really love it. You can adapt it, use it in math for sequencing numbers, for saying you can give a few different ropes, and then everything that's similar goes on one color rope, and everything that's a different but similar goes on a different color rope. Just endless things to do with it. The next is puzzles. So puzzles I just think are great for thinking, critical thinking skills at a young age, discussion, team building, things like that. But I again take images either from the actual book or because there were so many animals and things like that, and I kind of would keep an animal theme in my classroom. I sometimes will just have different animals, and I use unsplash.com to find really high quality images that are free for reuse. So you'll see them in quite a few of my presentations, but they're taken by actual photographers. I do try and link them to the photographer to give them credit, because I do think we should be at least giving credit to photographers. But I really get tired of doing long Google image searches and not being able to find what I really want. So then there's matching. This matching is your traditional matching. The only thing that I really adapted was I put it on plates. I know the younger kids struggle with like those fine motor skills. So picking up smaller pieces, putting them back where they found them if the papers are really small. So all I do is I take the same thing I would be matching again. I was using animals again, and take them to the plates. And then the kids were to discuss with each other, or the teachers in this case, with each other the animal they found, if there's a match, if there's not. Next is the telephone. And this is your old school telephone. All of us remember playing with it. But then just giving kids some guiding questions or letting them freely discuss what they want. They'll just love the telephone if yours actually works. Mine was having a little bit of a hard time in this training, but I'm sure after a few more putting together telephones, it would be perfectly fine. It's just a cool way to encourage students to actually talk and use their language. So these are whole class activities. These are things you can use with everybody. So before in the stations, these were things that kids are doing in small groups, where I'm working with one group on a particular skill and the rest of the students are basically self-monitoring. This is where everybody, all of us, are jumping in for the fun. So Simon Says, we all know the game. It's just a spin on it. This time I would do Jungle Simon Says, or animal theme Simon Says, where the motions that I tell them to make or do are related to what they would be doing. Swing your arms like a monkey, toss your trunk like a elephant, howl at the moon like a wolf, or any of the ones you can think of yourself. Just a fun way to still do Simon Says. Maybe you still throw in some of the ones that you already like. Find your match. This one you can also place it on their head using, the simple circle headband. I actually prefer that for kids, because then they see the image right of the person they're talking to right in front of them. And then what the students would do is actually describe the animal without telling the person who's wearing the animal which animal it is. So for example, I have a lion on my head and I talk about, oh, he's yellow, he has big brown hair, and that may be how I describe it. Or I make the students ask questions. Am I big? Am I small? Am I yellow? Am I green? And until they find their partner who has the same thing. And then at the end, we check, did everybody find their right partner, or did you partner up with the wrong person? And then just do a jungle dance. How much fun is that? Let them run free, play the song that I shared earlier, the YouTube, and let them come up with their jungle dance. And it's just a fun way to kind of cut loose, something we don't do nearly enough with our young children, giving them just time to just be. I know I love it. I always think my children love it and enjoy it. All right, so let's look at the 7 learning areas, and let's talk about how the topics that I've shared already address these 7 learning areas. So in the British National Curriculum, even if you're not at a British school, these principles are pretty much in some way related to something you're probably using in your country. So communication and language, physical development, personal, social, and emotional development. Those are the primaries, the big ones. So those are the ones I'm going to actually really talk about, but I want you to think about on your own: literacy, mathematics, understanding the world, expressive art, and design, and how some of these activities also address those, although their focus may be the top 3 prime areas. So for communication and learning, we have puppets, which are one we didn't show and I didn't do in this session with my teachers, but it's very easy. We all know what they are. There's various types of puppets you could make or bring in and have the kids use them. The memory plates was definitely communication and learning. They had to talk to each other about which animals they found. The telephone, describing the animal, and even the sequencing, although that's not listed here. The sequencing with the rope was also communication and language, because they talked to their partner about what came first, what came next, what came last. Then we have Simon Says, which would be physical development, Threading the Order, the Animal Puzzles, and the Jungle Dance. All of these are developing students' physical development. Personal, social, and emotional development. So these are questions we're either talking about as a class, I would ask, or some of those questions that were at the telephone game or that you may have them do with their puppets, or doing some of these other things like drawing the feelings, talking about helping hands. And even if you're writing and the children are just discussing, it's a good way to get to this very important life skill. You're trying to think about how those ideas relate to the other areas: literacy, numeracy, understanding the world, and expressive art and design. If you want, do a little bit of homework. Think of your own book and ways that you can incorporate the different learning areas into your lesson, into your day, so that you're creating like a theme, something kids want to come to school and participate in. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this and you got something out of it. Please visit my website to get more information, shareable folders, other presentations, and lots of other cool things. And tell me what you want from me. Just shoot me an email. Thanks again. Bye.